All right, live streamed. Okay, I think we are good to go. Uh, Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so everybody, this is Christina, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and her background. I know you have a background in doctorate of acupuncture, but there's like so much more to you than just acupuncture, which is why I have this. I have this titled as like Beyond Acupuncture because I feel like that's just like a little teeny itty bitty piece of like who you are and the magic that you've created and your practice and like what you're building and everything like that. But this is the first of monthly sort of like a practitioner interview series for everybody. So I'm just so excited to share people who've gone through the mentorship and like their experience and like where they were, what transformed for them and what opened up for them and really what they're doing now. Because, you know, a lot of times people think about mentorship or coaching as like, what's the ROI? Like, tell me what exactly how much money I'm going to be making or I'm going to get from taking this program. And like, as you probably know, Christina, and so many other practitioners who've gone through the program, like the financial aspect is just like one thing, but there's just like so much other transformation and expansion that happens through this process that it's literally like I have full body chills right now. It's like literally life transforming on so many levels. So I'm just so excited you're here to just share your story, where you were, how the mentorship really impacted you, and what you have created, what you are building, how you are creating an impact in the world right now. So if you want to start, if anybody's tuning in live, hello, thank you for joining us. If you're watching the replay, put replay in the comments. And I want to just start with, go ahead and like introduce yourself, Christina, and just like tell people who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay, well, my name is Cristina Cabrillo Santos, and yes, I do work as a doctor of acupuncture. But before that, I was doing massage therapy for many years as a licensed massage therapist. And then for many years before then, and still, I'm an aerial yoga teacher and trainer and mentor, and developed aerial teacher trainings and manuals and anatomy manuals and traveled the world teaching. So it was just a progression, one thing after the next. So before I started the mentorship, I was actually a newer practitioner because I only graduated from acupuncture school in 2018. So it's not like I've been doing acupuncture for many, many years. But very, very quickly, I realized that just like massage therapy, I was going to get burnt out very, very fast because majority of us people who are in the healthcare and wellness field, we are givers by nature. And by being givers, we overwork ourselves trying to help everyone else, neglecting our own lives, inevitably, just because of the nature of being a giver. And I was like, okay, while I love everything that I'm doing, even with teaching aerial yoga, I wasn't able to do that like my colleagues. Some people would teach 15, 17 classes a week, and you just get burnt out and you see it on people's faces. And I was like, I know I can't do this. And I know I have so many other passions and so many other talents that I want to nurture and cultivate within myself. So fast forward, I immediately had a job right out of school, right out of acupuncture school at a clinic that's really high end on Wall Street in Manhattan, making good money. And all my colleagues were like, wow, look at Christina. She has a job right away. Boom, boom, bang. And quickly you realize I'm doing shifts from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. living in New York City where commutes are ridiculous. I mean, like an hour plus one way. So I'm just like 2.5 hours commuting every day. Where is eating? Where is spending time with my partner? Where is like social life? And on top of that, I was still teaching, right? So I was like, how long will I be able to do this? So
I want to like stop you just right there,
yeah.
just because that right there, I think is something that goes unrecognized. It's like to everybody on the outside, you were successful. You had done it. You had made it. Like everybody's probably like, good job, Christina, like, da, da, da. And you're like, yes, but like,
But I'm drowning.
exactly. Like I totally get that, right? It's like everything looks perfect on paper, but it's like that's when it's like we have to reflect and be like, what's actually aligned with what I want and like what's actually nourishing and like what is my idea of success? Because like, okay, I got the like typical societal success thing dialed, dialed, like I made it,
Yeah,
but something just doesn't feel right. Like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And
totally get
quickly
it.
you realize that. And I'm like, oh my God, I went through Chinese medical school, did all, I mean, not to even mention how expensive schooling is, you know. Yes, it's not comparable to Western medical school, but you know, you're still inputting 4 or 5 years of education on top of prior education, right? So it's like I've been in school for 10 years, you know, it's like, come on.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not just the financial investment. I mean, which
no,
is significant for acupuncture school also, but it's the time, the energy, all of that as well, which is also an investment. Yeah.
absolutely. And, you know, throughout the years, I kept investing in myself and, you know, this training and that training. And it's just a never ending story. And so 2019, a year after I started working at the clinic, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go solo. It's probably going to be hard, but you know what? I know the type of a person I am. I never, not, I work well with others, but it's just, I get more introverted than extroverted. I can kind of change myself as needed, but I get depleted with too many people around me trying to take care of everyone. Then, you know, it's just too much. And the same was at the yoga studio. There's just like hundreds of people on a daily basis, hundreds of students walking into the space, and I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of energies I have to contain. And so I told the clinic owner, I mean, beautiful woman who supported me, you know, completely. I said, listen, I love the clinic. I love you as an owner, but I'm going to go solo. And she was like, I wish you the best, you know, like if you want to come back, we're here, you know, but that was right before the pandemic. And I went solo and I had my office in Manhattan, which I was already doing massage therapy in for the past few years. So I had a clientele already like knowing me. Oh, you're in Midtown. What a great location, yada, yada, yada. Boom, March 17th was the last treatment I gave. And lockdown started. And I get goosebumps right now, just like you got chills earlier for the other info. And I'm like, what does this mean for me? All my bread and butter is with my hands, like literally acupuncture, massage therapy, aerial yoga. What am I going to do? So 5 months shutdowns, I wasn't working.
And New York was like crazy
New
strict.
York is,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
insane. Like California and New York, one of the craziest states as far as the state of, you know, of this affair goes. And I was just like walking my dog for days, you know, contemplating. I mean, then I was doing my doctorate. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? Let me get my doctorate at least out of the way, you know. So that's what I did. I was like, let me just continue studying. And that that's how I met Chloe, who recommended your. This is how we're going to do this. All right, let me check out this woman. I don't know who you are. I don't know who this Michelle person is, but you know, Chloe spoke volumes of you, and I was like, there's something to this. And I mean, I really like Googled everything about you, looked at your website, all of the stuff, and what I really wanted to get out of the mentorship, it wasn't even so much about the money, because I knew I can always make money, but I don't have that view of money as like, oh, money comes and goes. I know there's going to be ebb and flow. That's how life works. But it was more like, how can I gain freedom for myself? You know, whether I decided to do what the mentorship offered in the end or not, it was the freedom that I saw in that moment. And I'm like, yes, I see a way out. I see a way out. I'm not stuck, because, you know, we were stuck. I felt stuck.
I have full body chills in you saying that. And I think that that right there is such a profound realization. And this is like one of the core, like one of my core missions it with the mentorship is showing people that there's another way. It doesn't have to be my way. Like I share, as you know, inside the mentorship, exactly how I do everything and like how I built everything and like all the behind the scenes and everything. But it's like, you don't have to mimic that. Like it actually for a lot of people sparks other ideas. And it's like, oh shit, I can actually do this, or like I've never considered this before. And it's like it, and that's like the power of community also, right? It's seeing other people and what they're building and what they're creating and how they're doing things and being like, wow, I see possibility now that I didn't see before. Like it really can help to put a fire under someone's ass, and like an inspirational fire, right? Of like, oh my God, like I don't have to be stuck. I don't have to be stagnant. I don't have to do it the way that I thought I had to do it for X amount of years. I don't have to do it the way that these people told me I had to do it. And that part is like, that's the part that lights me the F up, is that piece.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm so glad you said that, because at the beginning of the mentorship, you know, you have so many modules. It can seem a little overwhelming, especially if you don't come from the ND background, naturopathic doctoral background. You know, maybe if you're a nurse or another type of more Western practitioner, these types of things may come to you with more ease. However, you know, you set your mind to something, you can learn anything. So that's not the learning curve. Yes, it's huge for some of us, but it's that inspirational thing that you surround yourself with other people who are a few steps ahead of you, can give you that fire that ignites you to create more. And so within a month and a half of the mentorship, I knew, okay, I'm not going to be able to do labs immediately, but I took, like I told you before, all of the knowledge that you offered that I learned in that short amount of time, month and a half, and the mentorship is 6 months. So I was at the literal beginning, and the wheels were turning immediately. I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't in lockdowns anymore. The business open. I already started to see patients and clients again. How can I apply all the knowledge that is present in front of me to my business right now? And that's exactly what I did. And from, you know, that practitioner who was in lockdowns for 5 months, who is a newer person in medicine, right? Wow, I went from seeing patients, you know, okay, you'll come 3 treatments, you'll feel better, and then see you in, I don't know, 6 months, to, okay, I'll come when I can. Well, I don't really have the money. And I'm like, you want to get better, right? But I just, you know, the type of person I am, I also give in into people's like poor me syndrome, and like, oh, I can't do that. Okay, don't worry, we'll handle it. Don't worry, I'll give you a lower rate, you know, to getting the confidence and understanding that I don't need to operate on that level. And I created a 3-month program, and, you know, allowed myself to build a niche within the part of acupuncture that interested me the most. And that is the spiritual aspect of human beings. Why are we on this planet? And just like went with it, excelled with it, you know, and made the
Yes.
money back, which again, I didn't say it was about that, but, you know, the ability
Mhm.
to even make the money back of the investment in the mentorship within 4 or 5 months was just like, even before I was done with the mentorship.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
everyone will do it their way, you
Of
know? So like, you
course.
got to take the reins and do it. You know, you
And
can't expect that the mentorship gives you the tools and now things are magically going to happen. You
yeah.
still need action, right?
Yes.
You still need
Exactly.
action. So don't be like, oh, Michelle is the savior. Now everything is going to change. No, you still need to do your work. You
Yes,
know?
I love that. You touched on so many things, like the limiting beliefs that were uncovered, and like those sort of habitual ways of interacting with people, like those interpersonal relationships. Like those are little like nuances that are inside of the mentorship that, you know,
Yeah.
no one really realizes they're in there, but I sneak them in there. But it's like really it's stepping out of those people pleasing behaviors that we've been a part of that have been really suppressing our authentic expression and our ability to like step forward with that confidence. And like I just got chills again, but that's what allowed you to get to your next level. And you took all that information that I provided, that education inside of the mentorship, the support, all of that, the accountability, and created a program that was truly aligned to you and who you wanted to work with and how you wanted to work with them. And that's why it excelled. If you tried to mimic my program 100%, you wouldn't have had the same results, right? And that's why it's like that old adage or whatever. of like, teach him or give a man a fish he eats for the day, teach a man a fish like he eats for a lifetime. And like that's the goal of the mentorship. It's like I want to give you all of the tools so that you get to create the thing that works for you. Even if it's not the same thing that you're going to be doing for the next 10, 20, 50 years or whatever to the rest of your life, it gives you the tools that you can pivot anytime you want. You can refine anytime you want. If you're like after 3 years or something, you're like, actually, I want to kind of do my practice like this now. You have the tools now to do that and do it really effectively.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just that really true ability to cater it, because I noticed that people, other mentorships, business mentorships, people always want to emulate to a T what the teacher and mentor is showing them. And I've mentored people in movement, and I know that they're not going to be the same teacher I am. I have my own flavor. I have all the years of knowledge behind me. They're not going to be the same when they're starting out. Yes, they'll mimic me, in the beginning, but then, they'll pick something from another teacher and another teacher. And that's how I've created what I've created and did it for a year. And now I'm shifting gears again. Like literally, this is an anniversary, right? I finished the mentorship a year ago, like literally almost to the day. I think it was the 6th, and
Oh
today
my
is the
God,
7th.
that's amazing. How
So
beautiful that we're chatting today.
yeah, and you were like, oh, I need someone for the first Monday, and I'm like, serendipity much? So these things happen. I really think everything happens for a reason in life. And a year after the mentorship, now I'm already, like I said, I'm shifting gears. I'm doing acupuncture, and I am working with people in person because it feeds me. I love it. And I love working with like elderly clients, and I love working with moms and business owners, women. But it's shifted just as I've evolved as a human. And that's what I love about you, that I see you're constantly evolving as a human, and not just as a practitioner, but you want to create a change in the world. And that's what I strive for. It's not, I want to change one person's life. Yes, if I change one person's life, that's great. But I want to create a greater impact to wake people up, to really wake them up to the possibilities that are here on this planet. And yes, there's going to be people who are struggling, people dying in other countries, but we can start from us, change the people that we're working with, and then it kind of like a domino effect.
100%, like 100% to the nth degree. Because if we shut down our light or we prevent ourselves from like really being in our zone of genius and like moving forward, and that means creating the practice that we want, creating the lifestyle that we want, making the amount of money that we want, because that allows us to create more impact in the world. That allows us, like, if we're fully resourced, if we're making the amount of money that we need to be making, all of those things, that allows us the flexibility to create scholarships, to serve people in new and creative and innovative ways that we hadn't thought of before or even considered before, because we were in a state of scarcity or lack or whatever, or fear, right? Because then we're like, oh no, I can't give my services away for free, or I can't afford to do that, or I can't do, and you just get smaller and smaller and more contracted, right? But like if you're fully resourced, if you're taken care of, if you're empowered, if you are fulfilled in all of the different ways, right? That allows you to give from overflow instead of from sustenance. And it feels fucking amazing, right?
Absolutely. And then you
Yeah.
value yourself so much more. Like I tripled my session rates, and I raised the prices from the program when I started. That was September of last year. No, not 2021, the September of 2020, right? So a year and a half ago, I started with a certain rate, and I put it 50% higher for last year, right? Not because I'm greedy, but because I wasn't valuing myself enough. And I hear that across the board with practitioners that join your program, because I mean, I'm, like I said, I was a newer practitioner, and here I'm hearing stories from people who are 10 years in the practice. And I'm like, what? Like, why are you doing this? You are so knowledgeable and so much experience, but it's because of what we talked about before, right?
Totally, totally. And practitioners, like I always say, like in my content and whenever I'm talking, it's like we need to dissolve this idea, this like that martyrdom complex around like to be of service, we need to live a life of servitude. We need to be suffering to really be of
Yes.
service to people, you know, and so many of us, even if it's unconscious, have that belief, especially as healers, as women, like it's
Yeah.
just like embedded in our cells. And that's like the I keep having chills. Like I'm like over and over. I'm just like ah, but it's just like that's the like why behind the why of this mentorship. You know, it's like really freaking empowering women like
Yes.
in this deep way because how like how much more of service, how much better care can we take care of people when we are like totally taken care of, right? Oh,
Exactly. And
oh
wanting to, sometimes the sessions are longer than an hour,
yeah.
but because I'm charging more, I don't feel like, oh, well, I need to see another client right away or another patient. Oh my God, I don't have the time. Get out of my house, blah, blah, blah. Because now
Yes.
I closed down the office actually this summer. I closed down my Manhattan office. I transitioned to just working from home. I create the environment for myself that is very soothing. People come into my home and they're like, whoa, this is Zen. And I didn't have that ability in the office that I was renting. It was just a Manhattan building in the fashion district, like one of those old ass buildings, you
So
know?
you're creating more flow in your practice, more flexibility, right? There's a lot of like feminine energy that's been infused in a very masculine environment, right? Like New York's
Yeah,
like super masculine,
so
and you're creating
masculine.
this beautiful like feminine container of healing for your clients, more flexibility for you, for them, right? More income for
Exactly.
you, right?
Exactly.
Probably better results because you're giving from that overflow and you're like, I'm not rushing you out, like let's actually take
Exactly.
some time for integration here or like whatever's needed, right? Or maybe like, oh, we need to add a little bit of body work here because like da 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 da. Like you get to have
Exactly.
more like it's better care. It's better quality care that you're providing because you're fully resourced. Like that's like a
Absolutely.
real example of that.
Yeah. And through that, I was able to understand what is it that my patients and my clients really value in me as a practitioner. And, I used to be like, oh, it's probably my acupuncture technique, it's my massage technique, it's the way I teach, this and that. No, it was none of that. It was the time that they're able to spend with me and the little homeworks that I give them and the follow-ups, because I follow up with them because I have the time to follow up with them and text them and say, hey, how you feeling a few days after the treatment, etc. And just going the extra mile because I'm not depleted, right? Because I've created
Yes.
a base.
Yes.
So
Damn.
yeah. But then I want to add that the whole progression of the things while I'm doing acupuncture, while I'm still serving people in that way, the mentorship, what has given me is the spark within myself to understand that I don't want to be just a practitioner, that I want to truly use all of my gifts and be that entrepreneur that I know was inside of me that I had no idea was there before I joined the mentorship. I heard some of my friends like, oh, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, this, that. I'm like, how do people do this? Like, how are people so smart? Like, how is this happening? You feel dumb. You literally feel dumb because that's not what's taught in school. And I didn't go to business school. I went to
Yeah.
school for healing.
I don't think any of us like as practitioners went to business school. I mean, my business curriculum was a total joke. Like everything that I've learned, you know, that I teach inside of the mentorship is stuff that I've learned outside of school, like taking additional courses, like learning from mentors, like all of those things. Cause yeah, the business world is like, it's like you graduate and then it's like, okay, now learn all this business stuff. And you're like, what?
What?
And that's like why so many people default to working at established practices, going to residencies, whatever, becoming employees or associates or whatever, because it's the easy thing to do,
Yes.
right? But it's so limiting. And like as you're saying, you're talking about like there's this deeper, authentic, special sauce that was like brewing inside of you that probably would never have been birthed had you stayed in that level of like, go, go, go. I need to work, 10, 12 hours a day or whatever. Like, da, 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 da. Like, there's no space, there's no room to even explore that possibility or play around with the potentiality of that idea actually becoming a reality.
Absolutely. No, I honestly don't think if I didn't join the mentorship at the time that I did, I think maybe in 5, 10 years, it would have come. And there's a Serbian saying, because I'm Serbian, it comes from the butt to the head. It's like, then you realize it. But it's like, sometimes it can be a little bit like, oh, why didn't you do this 5, 10 years ago?
Mhm.
Like, why wait? If
Mm.
if it's there.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, is it actually going to happen in 5 or 10 years? Like, do you think it's just going to
Exactly.
land in your lap? Right. I think there's so many of us, and you bring up such a good point around timing. It's like, oh, well, it's not the right time right now. Like, and when you joined him, he's like pandemic, definitely doesn't seem like a good
Move.
choice or a good
No.
move to like whatever, but you were like, F it. Like, I know like something needs to shift, something needs to change. And you like took that leap. And so thankful you did. But it's like, yeah, timing is such a big thing. We think that, oh, things are just going to magically shift, in X amount of years or in X amount of months or something. And like you were saying before, it's like you have to take that aligned action too, right? Like you can think about things and you can learn about things, but like it's not just going to happen. Like you have to take that aligned action to
Yes, you
actually
have
get the
no
results.
idea. I mean, I counsel so many friends. I counsel so many of my colleagues, and I give them the tools that I have. Implementation is lacking. And I say, you could call me every day. I could counsel you every day. But if you don't take the action, nothing's going to, oh, you're so right. You're so right. Well, I don't want to be right. I want you to do better. But because they're not paying me, because they're just friends, that's the problem, right? So this is where my practice has been shifting. I realized that my gift is really giving people the resources to understand who they are as a human being, what is their purpose here on earth, and whether that's just through spiritual acupuncture that I practice, or that's through spiritual counseling and coaching. I want to get people to the next level because, listen, I could give all of this out for free. I know it myself. When I've done courses for free, oh, I'll do it later, I'll implement it later. It's just being put off and put off. And honestly, nothing changes. Really, nothing changes. So
Yep. There's
you
that
got to
saying, right? You
invest.
have you have to invest to be invested, right?
Exactly.
Like
Absolutely.
that's just the facts, and that's why I used to be that person where I'm like, I'm gonna gather all the different free resources, like, oh, free guide, free ebook, free blah 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 blah. And it's just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of information that then I just feel more overwhelmed and more stuck and more stagnant, right? Instead of like actually putting my resources, my time, energy, money into one thing and like really moving the needle forward. But
Absolutely. And what
yeah,
has
I
come out of this, and let me tell you, just like
yes,
the
let's
cherry
talk.
on top, my husband and I, we started writing romance novels because we love books and writing. So our first romance book will be out on Amazon probably by the end of the month. We're just
Oh
building
my
our
God.
advanced reader copy send out. I started creating inspirational journals and coloring books, selling them on Amazon as well. So these are like passive income streams. We got into crypto investing, and all of this, even if it wasn't on a conscious level, as an influence of the mentorship, I strongly believe that it is because of the mentorship. It's because it shifted me energetically enough to understand, Christina, you come from Serbia. You have built yourself from scratch in the United States, in New York City, where even my colleagues who were born and raised in the United States are just like struggling. And here I am, yes, I had a little bit of that survivor mentality, always got to struggle for, to make it in the world. But I'm like, no, I want to freaking thrive. I don't want to survive. I had enough of that. And it's like, it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy being an entrepreneur because people don't see how much work goes behind the scenes.
It's
but
not easy, but it is so freaking worth
it's
it.
fulfilling. It's fulfilling, knowing that you're doing it, you're doing it. And like you say in the mentorship, there are certain things you're going to outsource, and that's what we do as well, but just finding our passions and drives. Like even my husband, he left his corporate job, in September. Yes, a lot of it had to do with the freaking mandates and the state of the world here, but that was his push. The universe pushed him in that regard and said, hey, bro, join your wife, do it together, like just work on something together. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I thank you. I really, really thank you.
Oh my gosh. I just like that. All of that stuff sounds so, so, so exciting. I'm going to drop, like, if you have links, I'll drop them in the comments too for like your book and like the coloring, like all of your fun things. I just love that. And it really goes back to the fact that you created space in your life, in your work, in your practice to be able to infuse that creativity, right? Like that there was no room. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like anybody watching, I know for me, if I'm feeling overburdened, overwhelmed, stressed out, there is no creativity, there is no innovation, like there's literally no space for it. And that's why having the white space, having the flexibility, infusing that feminine flow into your days, into your weeks, months, whatever, like that creates the creativity, the spontaneity, like all of that. And I think that piece is just missing in so many of our lives. Like how many of us are not, pursuing any hobbies because our days are so inundated with the things that we should be doing or have to do or whatever, and I just love that you have these creative outputs. It's probably created a much tighter bond between you and your husband. Like, how cool
Absolutely.
is it that you guys are like collaborating now? Like,
Yeah.
what? Like,
Yeah. We
talk
push
about
each other.
alignment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we push each other. There are days when I'm like, oh man, do I need to send out that email? I need to create. He's like, come on, let's do it. Or
Oh,
he'll be low on energy, and I'm like, come on, baby, we got to create a cover. Because we do enjoy it, and we're learning, and we are actually in a writer mentorship as well, for our books. So he's getting mentored in that area, and it's beautiful, because your mentorship, even though it was more health wellness based, the amount of business and spiritual and mindset tips that are, you know I don't even want to say that I applied, because a lot of it I knew. I just was like, wow, I really need to practice this on a daily basis. And honestly, like the Mondays with Gavin, and I don't know if you still do that, but it was just so much value in the mentorship. And I'm gonna say it over and over again. It's value for 3 years, because look at me, a year after the mentorship, and I'm still learning. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like what you've created is a beautiful container. I just feel like people need to take what they need to take from it, and not get stuck in like, oh, okay, well, Michelle does it like this, it has to be like this, right? So make it your own. If you're watching this, like really make it your own. Follow your intuition, be courageous, really step into your power, because that's what the mentorship helped me see, that I'm way more powerful than I thought. It was like, what?
oh,
What?
oh,
Okay,
I'm
yeah. People are like, how are you doing all these things? I don't understand. Where do you get the time? It's like, I'm not depleted. And I still do
exactly.
extend myself from time to time. That's just my nature. And then I got to reel myself back in. It's like, okay, self-care time, like pull
Yes.
away. Don't see clients on this day, just take a breather. It's okay. Money
Yeah.
will come from other ways.
And but the cool thing is that that's not your normal. Your normal is to not be overextended now, right? So
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
easier for you to actually identify when that's happening. Because like
Absolutely.
before, it's like we just keep going. We don't have any time for reflection. We don't have any time to actually look from it like from an outsider's perspective, right? And so when you've actually created a lifestyle that is really in alignment with your flow, and then you kind of slip back into old habits, you can be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, this is where I don't want to be. Like, this is where I
Exactly.
came from, and this is what I've created now. And it also, I mean, it probably serves too is like that your own like self motivation to keep going and to keep like, you know,
Yeah.
just tapping into all of the beautiful things that you want to be doing.
Absolutely. And things like you
Mm.
said, in a year from now, who knows like what I'll be doing in a year, you know?
Yeah.
It's incredible that we keep growing and evolving, and that's key in life for me, to never stop growing. I always want to
Yeah.
grow as a human, and inspire others to do the same, because people get stuck.
Likewise.
Yeah,
Yes. Likewise. Yeah.
absolutely.
Stagnation is death, right? Basically in Chinese medicine, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just like the truth, but
It's true. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So do you have any
amazing.
other questions for me?
Is there anything like else that you want to share about like your current offerings, your current programs, what you're doing, where
So
people can find you if they want
yeah,
to like reach out?
absolutely. So I'm offering a 3-month program still with acupuncture and 8 extraordinary meridians. So with that 3-month program, we're basically tapping into the blueprint of the person, because the 8 extraordinary meridians, they work on the deepest level of our energy, which is our Jing level, right? The essence that we're born with, what our ancestors have given us through inheritance. So I love working with familial issues, things that run in the family, you know, even psycho-emotional disorders that are just like running in the family. I deal with a lot of anxiety in my practice. And so that's a 3-month program. And I started offering spiritual counseling or coaching, however you want to call it. I think 3-month programs are a necessity for me. Like anything less than that, I feel like we're just starting to scrape the surface, and then people don't have the follow-up accountability. So it's a 3-month minimum with whatever I offer. So yeah, as far as programs, I'm currently offering 2. There's something in the background that I'm waiting for that I don't want to say. It's on my website. People can read it. So my website is drchristinasantos.com, and people can find me on my website, book a consultation, and find me like that. I'm also on Instagram. So Tao Dharma is my Instagram handle, TAODHARMA. And I have a YouTube channel. I actually just started a yoga YouTube channel a few months back, because I stopped teaching traditional yoga in studios. So I'm offering basically yoga through my YouTube channel. It's still very new, it's very fresh, but this year I said, okay, I really want to give more time to this YouTube thing, because it's the platform that I love the most, and I've been using for many, many years. So that's again where people can find me, through my YouTube channels, Tao Dharma and Tao Dharma TV. So we have the
Perfect. Will you message me on Slack the like
yeah,
all your links, your website, YouTube,
absolutely.
all of that stuff, and then I can post that in the group, and then
Awesome.
people can look at all your stuff. Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
Oh, Bruno's
Absolutely.
here.
Hi.
Hi.
He's so cute. Yeah.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you want to say or share or
I just
anything? This
think
has
if
been
you,
so rich.
I think, listen, if you're on the fence, just, you know, take care of yourself, do something for yourself. You know, you can't go wrong. The money will come back if you're
Mhm,
the type of person that is a person of action. If you
mhm.
feel like you're like, and you join too many programs and nothing happens, then you know what type of a person you are. You need some help. But the mentorship, it's not just about labs, it's not just about business. There's just
Mm,
so much value
mm,
that the mentorship brings, that it's incredible. I
mm,
really speak highly of it,
mm,
because I had a great experience, and I met some
mm.
amazing women, you know, like Chelsea, my accountability partner. We're still in touch, we text, we talk about the state of life affairs, etc., you know. And that's another aspect of the mentorship that I think it's super valuable, is to have someone there that's like, hey, you're doing your homework, hey, you're showing up for the Zoom calls, like, let's do this, you know.
Yeah, the community, I like everybody who goes through the mentorship, they're just like the community, the community, the community. Like the women that come into this group are just like
Yeah,
what
mind
the
blowing.
yeah, they're so amazing. Like the support, like how they show up, the vulnerability, just like, oh, it is just, it's like family. It's like soul family. It feels so good. So a lot of times people just come to office hours just to hang out.
Exactly. It's like, okay, let me show up for my group, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I
Totally.
love that. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and hanging out and just sharing your story. I think that there's a lot of practitioners who can relate and just like can really hear a lot of themselves inside of you and like what you've been through and like, your whole transformation. So just thank you for sharing so openly and so honestly and
My
all of
pleasure.
that.
My
Yeah.
pleasure. Anytime.
Amazing.
All right.
Oh, love you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, and I'll
Thank
chat with
you.
you soon.
All
Mwah.
righty. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.